Hello everyone, I'm Alexandra, as you all know, from my mindfulness drop-in sessions once a month. I'm the wellness lead, so I'm gonna extend my wellness activities from mindfulness to sending you once a month a video on some aspect of well-being and resilience and keeping yourselves mentally agile, mentally alert, looking after the way you work, but also looking after the way you live. And I'm applying all of these things to myself and trying to live them as well. It's a great opportunity for me as well to just sort of deep dive into various different aspects that can help and support our mental health, but also our physical well-being. And ultimately that always leads to emotional well-being as well, and better relational well-being, isn't it? We're all one, so when we are improving in one area, when we're spotting things that are getting in the way in another, actually sort of working on that particular aspect can help across the board really of who we are as people in a very busy world with a lot on, with a lot of pressures, and processing a lot of information and a lot of change. There's lots of fears out there as well. So to look after our mental and physical and emotional well-being, we all know we need to put some practices in place to make sure that we take some time to stop and reflect and say, oh, how am I feeling now? What's on my plate? What's too much? What do I need more of? What could I start doing? What do I need to stop doing? So hopefully this series of they're videos, they're going to be videos that you are now accessing, hopefully, that you can come back to if you want. I'll also try and upload some PDFs that might be helpful. Let's see how that goes. So today, this is the month of May, the month of spring, the month of more light, the month of prospects, exciting prospects for the summer, whatever May brings for you, lots of flowers, hay fever maybe. What I've sort of selected as today's topic is sleep, the importance of sleep, the benefits of sleep. Maybe because as the days get longer, we count on daylight to do things. We feel more active in daylight. And obviously our body's own production of melatonin corresponds to the amount of hours of daylight. And then when it starts to get darker, we produce melatonin and we can fall asleep, whether we're aware of it or not. So, a couple of things that we can reflect on and think about is, do I change my patterns of going to sleep and getting up because of the increased hours of sunlight? Do I want to make use of more hours of daylight and I do more work? And therefore it's easier for me to fall asleep? Or am I less regulated with my own work and entertainment and sleep time because I've shifted my sense of activities according to the amount of light there is? I mean, something so simple, maybe, light comes into your room now at 5:30 in the morning because that's when the sun rises and it's getting earlier and earlier, and that wakes you up. And it's a wonderful way to wake up naturally with the sunlight, but it is changing your sleep patterns and the time that you wake up. It's just a question out there. Is that something you're choosing, or is that something that's just happening? You've got choices around blackout windows or drawing the curtains or wearing masks, an eye mask. These are just a series of questions to reflect on, to see, have I considered that in the bigger picture of my well-being? So we all know that as adults we should be getting, and there's that little word should, we should be getting between 7 and 8 hours of sleep. It is true that some people need longer. I'm a twin, and my twin sister absolutely needs 9 hours of sleep. I don't know how she gets it, but that's when she feels at her optimum. And I need 7. You know, I think it's according to our own choices and practices and our own temperament, and whether we're night owls, whether we're early birds. But consider it. Consider what is for me, what is for each of you, the correct amount of sleep. And we sometimes have to try it out. If you've got small children, it'll never be the right amount of sleep, you know. If you've got a lot of pressure, a lot of worries, you may wake up lots of times in the night and you're maybe not getting the amount of sleep that really helps you. If you've been on a long journey and you come back and you're jet lagged, you might take time to adjust to the right amount of sleep, the hours of sleep. But that's one consideration. So between 7 and 8 hours of sleep, or more if that's what you need. Less, you know, they say that older people need less hours of sleep. I don't know. I've always recommended a 20-minute nap or a half an hour nap for people over a certain age, around 1, 2, 3 o'clock, but not later than that. And then maybe 7 hours is too much, or 6 hours. So make that first consideration. When do you really feel rested, or at least when do you feel? How long do you feel the good night's sleep is for you? But the second really important question, maybe it's more important, but but it is the second question, is what's your bedtime and what's your wake up time? There's quite a lot of research that says that we should always wake up at the same time, no matter how late we've gone to bed. Because as we wake up, we release cortisol, and that boost of cortisol helps us to actually get out of bed. Remember, we've been diagonal for 8 hours in the night, 7 or 8 hours in the night, and the effort to go vertical requires quite a lot of body change. And so the body naturally produces cortisol in the morning around the pattern, around the time that we regularly get up, to help us, to support us. And isn't that marvelous? You know, that our body knows that it's going to take effort and time, and we've got to push through that need for just taking things easy. If we respond to that natural hormone that helps us to get up, let's work with our bodies. Let's work with what our bodies naturally produce so that it makes it that bit easier. Now, you may not like me when I say this, but snooze button completely contradicts that natural support that our bodies give, because we only produce that cortisol to wake up when we wake up once, not after 3 snooze buttons. But having said that, if you feel that a 5-minute snooze, another 7-minute snooze, a 10-minute snooze suits you, and that helps you to adjust mentally and emotionally to what you have in the day, make that the routine. The science suggests that it's getting up straight away as soon as the alarm goes is the best way to manage that shift, that change from sleep to wakeness. And there's so much going on in the brain that we also have to respect. I'll come to that in a bit. But if we can stick to the same routine, then that is also very beneficial. To set a time and to commit to it and to keep to it is also supporting our natural body rhythms. So we choose that. And it is a saying then, well, what happens on the weekend? You know, we can have a lie-in. Maybe a lie-in, but I wanted to talk about rest as well as sleep, because having a lie-in on the weekends, it might be that we went out late on Friday night and Saturday night, and the shift of when we went to bed means that we do need to have maybe a couple of hours longer in bed so that we get those 7 to 8 hours. Just take into account that the body shifting that change of rhythm will have an effect on our body. So if we're ready for it, If we know what to do and we feel energized and we go for a run, or we take, doing a different activity on Saturday and Sunday from the rest of the week, again, the body and the nervous system can get used to and, predict that that's what's going to happen, and then it's easier. We know that the brain predicts so much of what we actually do in the day. I mean, they say about 90% of our activity, the brain knows it's going to happen and has already set ourselves up, knows, the energy level and the attention level and the engagement level already. I mean, we can intercept and choose, for this moment I'm going to do something different, and we choose to go for a walk when we would normally maybe just rest at home. We can, step into and interrupt that automatic cycle, that predictive activity that the brain does. Of course we can. But it's quite useful that our brains already have the map, the coordinates of the optimal levels of functioning that are best for us in the day. But just know that that's what's happening, and know that if there's a shift in the sleep pattern, it's conscious, it's chosen, and we can, we're doing appropriate activities following on from maybe a later night that can still support rest and rejuvenation. So very interestingly, there are things happening in the brain. The brain is detoxing, it's clarifying, it's categorizing, it's supporting neural networks, it's strengthening learning process. At different times in the night, there's this process of cleansing and restoring, of cleaning up and of building. And that's, we're not aware of it, it's just happening. It's part of our autonomic system that's helping us to grow and develop and restore and rejuvenate. But if we interrupt our sleep or have a different sleep pattern and miss out chunks in the night, then we're interrupting that automatic, natural brain functioning. And then it doesn't happen. And we all know that. We know that if we're sleep deprived, the next day we may snap more easily. We may just lose concentration. We may be able to do certain things for much less time before we need to grab a coffee or go for a walk or just sort of take stock of what's happening. Our mental alertness is reduced. Our sense of humor is definitely reduced when we're sleep deprived. We miss things out, we forget things, we drop things, we're more clumsy, we're less coordinated. All of these things, as tried and tested, we all know this, are the consequences of having had less sleep during the night. And if those things happen to us, if we get snappy and drop things and forget things and can't concentrate very much, and we don't realise it's because of sleep deprivation, this is a really key element of self-care. Now, what has caused those things that upset me and just confuse me in the day? And if we can say, I didn't get enough sleep last night, or I've had an irregular pattern of sleep for the past week or so. We all know this with an illness, a period of illness where sleep is all over the place. We know that lots of things take time to recover and patterns to recoup, and a sense of clarity, a sense of balance, a sense of control over our alertness. It takes time, doesn't it? If we have a chronic illness that's ongoing, we know the toll that takes on our mental and physical health, and we put things in place. So all of this requires just awareness of what's the quality of my sleep, what's the time frame of my sleep. If that sleep has been interrupted, just notice the consequences the next day. of having had a poorer quality of sleep. And that's where we can incorporate rest in the day. The best way to rest in the day is to take 5 deep breaths, different moments. Noticing that we're feeling a bit ratty, a bit foggy, a bit clumsy, we go, just going to ground myself, place my feet flat on the floor, sit in a comfortable position, and take 5 deep breaths, preferably with your eyes closed, actually. That just helps just to cancel out or just to diminish one of our most active senses, which is the sense of sight. Just closing our eyes and taking 5 deep breaths can just replenish our nervous system and our energy, help us to activate the brain. Just do that 2 or 3 times in the day at a moment that you choose. That's one good way of resting. Reading a book, going for a gentle walk, playing with a pet or a child, doing things that are going to help us just focus on one sensory activity, cooking, making bread. Those are moments of rest, mental rest, because our brains have had less sleep to recover and recuperate. So being able to, when you're feeling those signs of lack of sleep, take some moments to rest. And a nap is helpful, but not more than 20 minutes, they say. And if we do it regularly, we become dependent on that. So you choose how you want to opt for a nap and a rest. But there is a difference between a nap and restful activities and full-on sleep. We all know that. Very often we're sleep deprived because we're worried, we're anxious, we've got a lot on our plate. But guess what? A lot of the time our sleep is disrupted because we haven't done enough physical movement in the day. So physical movement sends the blood circulating, it lubricates the joints, it oxygenates the brain, it regulates our breathing, regulates our heart. Some simple but really crucial things that we have control over if we push ourselves to 20 minutes of exertion every day. At least 20 minutes, they say, 150 minutes in the week. Where can we do that? Where can we have 20 minutes a day of, and that's the minimum, of an opportunity to increase our heart rate, to increase the blood flow, to lubricate the joints, to send that oxygenated blood to the brain. It could be a power walk, it could be some HIIT activity, it could be just vigorous vacuuming. Something that that is within your comfort zone, but it's going to push your heart rate just a bit over normal, and have a Fitbit or a watch or an app, and health app, just to measure that you're using up energy and you're increasing your heart rate, because it is absolutely fundamental. It increases the endorphins, of course, but it's also a mental rest when you run or walk or dance. That's a really good one. Choose to dance or yoga or Pilates or just running up and down the stairs. In fact, they say movement is one of the best ways to manage sleep. So be conscious of each, get up every hour on the hour, or some watches bars that tend to the hour, and do some stretching, but consciously. So that's shifting from work to consciously standing up, maybe sort of doing a neck roll, maybe stretching up in the air, maybe doing some deep breaths. That regular, just activating the nervous system can really increase the quality of our sleep later on at night. Little things that we can do. I've got a PDF, and I'll finish with this, of the things that that can affect sleep. And in fact, when there's sleep deprivation, there are things that go on or go wrong in the body. So we've talked about impaired cognition. It really does impair our memory, and our ability to process information. What's gone on? When do I need this information? How will I recall this information? How do I communicate this information? If we haven't slept enough, those processes just don't work as well. They're a bit clunky. A lack of sleep raises the brain's anticipatory reactions, increasing overall anxiety levels. Again, if we're not in a state of calm, in a state of alertness and awareness, lots of things that are not so troubling can just trouble us. Or we can get a shock more easily when a door slams or our car hoots. Again, that dysregulates our nervous system. And unless we exhale, take a breath, look after ourselves, that'll impair our mental activity, our mental alertness, and will increase our anxiety levels. And they say that when you sleep 6 hours or less a night, your chance of stroke increases by 4 times. That's massive. Again, increased risk for diabetes. And then an increased risk of breast cancer and heart disease. But an interesting one is the lack of sleep. Because sleep helps balance the hormones and the hormonal activity. It actually makes you feel hungry. And when we don't sleep enough, we will put on weight, because the hormonal levels that regulate our satiety, I'm sorry, I can't say the word, feeling hungry, are dysregulated. So just a few ways just to keep in mind to look after our sleep, the quality of our sleep, the quantity, the time, the regularity of our sleep, how we respond first thing in the morning to getting up, possibly finding moments of rest, which is necessary sleep during the day, and finally our nighttime routine. We know how important it is that we dim the lights, we're off screen an hour before, we're doing some activity just to help prepare our brains for rest. So it could be just some reading, watching a nice comedy, nothing too violent, nothing too active or too horror, nothing that's going to wake us up with bad dreams. Maybe doing some yoga or meditation or a shower, gentle conversation. Find your own routine, dial down routine at night. And of course, all of this applies to children as well. There's the basics of good night's sleep. I'm going to read them for you. A sleep routine, a consistent bedtime and wake up time for children. A cool down routine, focus on calming and relaxing activities the final hour before bed to avoid exciting your child or ourselves as well. No phone zone. This is the hardest. We'll do an episode on screen time in the future. White noise. You can get pink noise, green noise, brown noise. That sort of, or whatever level of intensity, or maybe tinkly music. There's lots of sleep apps that have sort of sounds, musical sounds, or rainforest, or waves on a beach. That regular but slightly irregular motion that helps us gently lull into a good night's sleep. Avoiding melatonin. We take melatonin normally if we've had a severe bout of disrupted sleep, maybe jet lag, maybe things that have happened, moving house or whatever. But regular melatonin, taking melatonin isn't good for us. It's not proven. There's not enough scientific tests on the use of melatonin. So avoid it regularly. So good night's sleep, the importance of our brain, on our emotions, on our physical well-being. I recommend that you jot it down, track your sleep, see what works for you, see what the best ways for you to look after our sleep, so that we look after our mental agility. Okay, see you next month. Bye-bye.